Hello and welcome. It's Japan, and we just had NXT Heatwave over the weekend. And overall, I mean, it was a pretty interesting show. Like, I think it's one of those shows that's like not super hyped up because like some of the matches weren't really title matches. It was just like to end feuds or to further stuff. So like some people probably didn't like that as much, but I do think overall the match quality was like all over the place, being like good, bad, happy, sad, whatever you want to call it. And I just realized these two matches need to be flipped, but we'll jump into it, and that's the best way of doing it. So the first match was the number one contender triple threat, which is kind of weird to have on this type of like PLE. Like I don't really was opposed to it, but it is weird to have like a number one contenders match for a different PLE that's going down, because I thought maybe it was going to be for a random NXT, but no, this is for No Mercy, which is next month. So it's like kind of an odd thing, like to have a number one contender in 4 weeks. Kind of puts like I guess question marks on everything else. But Lola Vice versus Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan. They absolutely stepped up. I mean, it was a great opening match, and the only thing I would feel like this PLE, and you'll see like as we go along, is that it was fairly predictable, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So with this match, obviously, I think I at least I thought it was obvious that they were going to go with Lola Vice just because of how much stuff that they've given her with the AAA stuff. That they need to eventually figure out where she's at on the NXT roster. Like, is she ready to go back for that main event stuff? I don't think she's gonna probably win anything, but it's still a really good indication of what to do here. Plus, Kalani Jordan and Jada Parker kind of have been fighting with themselves and with other people that I think you could still do plenty of other matches, because like I know Jada Parker's also going against Lash Legend, so there's like so much extra stuff that it makes sense that Lola would be the perfect pick for this. I think the match itself I thought was pretty solid. It was a good way to start off the show. I put it in a solid B. I mean, it was just everything about it with them going in ring. They had a lot of good spots for everybody. Everybody looked equally good, which is always good to do in triple threat, but it was a great way to start off the show. Next up, we had Hank and Tank versus the Dark State, which ended up being Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin as like the two that they picked out of the four for the tag team titles. This kind of felt like it was also super obvious that Dark State was going to get it, because like if Dark State lost here, they would have been dead. That the whole faction would have been dead in the water. But I think them getting the tag belts and being able to also like have faction rules and probably be able to rotate who gets to defend the titles and being the big bad guys, I think is a good decision here. I mean, Hank and Tank, they got their moment to get to the tag team titles. They'll probably get a rematch at some point. But when you're going against a whole faction, they already had the numbers against them. So there wasn't much they can do. I do feel like the match kind of fell flat in certain areas. Like, I don't know if it was that they didn't have enough time, or just maybe wasn't the correct combination of Dark State people to what Hank and Tank was, but it did feel like, at least me personally, I felt this was probably the worst match. It like wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, and I thought it was definitely good to be on the card, but like overall, I mean, it's like I put it probably like a C plus, but I feel like in this type of case, I'm gonna put it down in C. I mean, it's definitely like a C plus type of thing where it's like super close to being like in between that, but just wasn't quite there for me to put in any higher. Next up is the triple threat for the TNA Knockouts Championship. It was Ash by Elegance, JC Jane, and Marsha Slamovich. I honestly, the most shocking part was that Slamovich took the pin here. I know like the whole point was like to try to protect Jace because she is the NXT champion too, but like that was kind of crazy. I mean, I kind of figured Ash was going to win. In my prediction video, I had Ash winning, and she's been pretty hot out there to do this. But I felt like overall the match again kind of just felt a little flat. The ending definitely didn't make a lot of sense to me because they kicked out Fatal Influence for interfering, and then they blatantly see the Elegance brand do it. They didn't send them out. They should have had the ref throw them out, and that would have been the extra distraction for Ash to still win. I just felt like that was kind of like a weird thing they didn't do. There was just a lot of different things there that I feel like it just wasn't it for me on the match itself. I think this probably is my least favorite match. I do think that the story they told and stuff was pretty good. And I think the ending sequence of like the actual finisher was pretty good. But other than that, I think the rest of the match kind of felt, and it felt long. I don't know if anybody else felt that way. I mean, it was a 12-minute match, but it definitely felt like longer than a 12-minute match, if that makes any sense. Next, we had Jordan Grace versus Blake Monroe. This is actually the one I was most excited about on like paper, just to see how well they were going to do together inside the ring, and I think it delivered. I mean, I think both of them look like $1,000,000. I really feel like Blake Monroe just went leaps and above whatever character that like you've kind of connected to, either AEW character or if you like her NXT character. I think she just kind of put it all together and showed this is who she is as a like wrestler in general, and I think it did good. It was a good like opening big PLE match for her. I mean, I know she's been like hovering around the main event scene of just like obviously betraying Jordan Grace and then now going against Jordan Grace, but this was like the perfect like signature starting match for her to show this is what she's going to be doing, and the future looks bright. So I'm put up an A. I thought it was a really good call overall in everything that they did there to make sure the match was going to be good. Next up, we had a mixed tag match, which is interesting that they even had that on here. It was Chelsea Green and Ethan Page versus Tavian Heights and Tyra May Still. Great decision to put this match on. I feel like a lot of people didn't like this match. I do feel like there was a lot of clunkiness with like having outside stuff, but I do feel like a lot of the people did look really good in the match. Like I wouldn't say this is the best match of the night or anything like that, but I don't think it's the worst match. I do think it's towards like the bottom of overall, but I do think the match itself was cool and interesting to put on the card. I really do think it was the placement and the time, because it was only a 9-minute match, and it just kind of felt like almost like a letdown with what match was coming after it and what came before it. So I think if they would have swapped the Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace match with this one, I think it would have had a little bit more flow coming off of the triple threat, but I'd probably put this in C. I do feel like if I'm going to rate them, I still think the triple threat's probably the worst match, then maybe the tag match, the men's tag match, and then that. I think like they're pretty solid C pluses to almost being um A's, not A's, B's. What am I even saying? But then we get to the main event. It was Obafemi versus Javon Evans. This match absolutely delivered everything it was supposed to be. This was what they banked the whole card on being, by knowing that this match was going to absolutely knock it out of the park. The only thing I hate about it is the ending. I don't like that false finish. I don't really like when it's like, oh, he put his leg under the rope. That is such an obscure rule, especially for people who don't watch wrestling like a religion. Like I even forget sometimes that's even a rule. So like they should have just had the leg on the rope if they were really going to do it. And I know it's supposed to kind of set up that Javon Evans has a opportunity for a title match, but like they've already kind of had one of these false finishers not super long ago. I mean, maybe it was longer than I'm expecting. But I really feel like they didn't really do any of them a service. And but yeah, Obafemi throwing the man onto a table is absolutely insane. I'm putting this up in S tier, even if it wasn't just for that thing. Other than the weird ending, I really don't see a problem with this match. Like this is a great match and everything that I hoped it to be. And maybe it was because I was already hyped, but sometimes I feel when you're hyped and ready for the match to be insane, those are the matches that let you down the most. But if you look at overall the card, I really feel like this card was one of those ones where they knew they didn't have to like hit it out of the park. They had a solid card that like people who are invested in NXT are going to be excited to watch, and TNA and like that type of stuff. It was really just kind of like a fans card, if that makes any sense. Like these are all matches we wanted to see. They're not necessarily, I think, PLE matches to a certain extent, because I feel like the mixed tag match definitely isn't something that they would have normally had there, especially like towards the main event scene. And then like the number one contenders match, and even like the Jason like the triple threat, like even though it was a title match, like it didn't have that feel to it because there wasn't a lot of build up, at least on the NXT side. I know there was more on the TNA side, but a lot of people, I'm going to be honest, don't watch the TNA product, even if their TNA title's over here. Like I would be really interesting to see the percentage of people watching NXT that watch the week to week program, that watch the PLEs, and that watch TNA also, like who watches all three, who watches two, who watches just the PLEs, because I know people that just watch the PLEs only and they don't watch anything else. So like having some of these type of matches, they seem completely out of the blue, because they're not title matches, and like having like Sol Ruka not have a title match, like stuff like that, is crazy. But I think overall, it's kind of cool. Plus, there was a lot of news. We got the next two PLEs, No Mercy, Halloween Havoc. We got a homecoming show coming up at the Full Sail University. I think that's really cool. The Speed Championships are now in NXT. Kind of an interesting thing. I don't really know exactly how that's going to work out. But again, I guess it's something, right? I think they really do need to have some changes in NXT overall to accommodate all of that. And will the Speed Championships still be 3 minutes? I feel like there's something that needs to be said, more than that they're just going to be housed there. And does that mean Americano is going to have to come down there? Because that's the other problem of El Grande Americano. He's going to have to figure out what they do with that. Even though they only really talked about the women's one being like a tournament type, like maybe Fatal 4-Way, or is it like Raw? I don't know. It's kind of crazy to have like Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Does that mean that Raw, SmackDown, and NXT or in AAA people are gonna stay on the show and defend it, or just randomly pop up to defend the title? It's kind of an interesting, weird thing, but I'm kind of excited to see what happens. And I'll put a whole video on that together because I think that's kind of deserves its own video. But until next time, this has been Japan. Bye, guys.